like to introduce you to John Keyworth, who's our lifeboat operations manager here at Bembridge. John, can you just tell me how long you've been involved with Bembridge Station?
This year will be my 35th year of service.
And what sort of roles have you had in that space of time?
I've been inshore lifeboat crew, offshore lifeboat crew, press officer, launch authority, head launcher, and now, at the top of the tree, the lifeboat operations manager.
And how much time during that period of years have you been able to work with female members of the crew?
Only for the last sort of 7 or 8 years. We had one lady who had joined us, fortunately for her, she then had a baby, so had to leave, and hasn't been able to come back, although it's her greatest wish. Now we have Dawn. Dawn's been with us a few years now, become a very valued member of the crew very, very quickly. And we've recently got another 2 ladies who've just joined and are going to start their training.
That's very good news. And what sort of capacities, what roles has Dawn taken on since she's been here?
Well, Dawn is offshore lifeboat crew and inshore lifeboat helm, as well as being a crew member if there's another helm there.
Can you just explain what a helm is, please?
So the helm is the person who steers and controls the boat and is operationally in command of the boat when it's on a rescue.
Good. And would you appreciate yet more women on the crew?
More the merrier, more the merrier. They've brought a new angle to the lifeboat service as far as we're concerned. They're as much fun, if not more fun than the fellas sometimes. And yeah, we welcome them.
Do you think there's a parity between the men and women on the crew?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, there's no restriction between what we ask anybody to do. If you're on the crew, you do whatever the crew is required to do.
So the training is all identical and the job is
Everything's identical. The only difference is the changing of into the uniform, and that's done behind a curtain or in a separate area from the fellas.
Okay. Thank you very much, John.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So Dawn, I'd like to thank you very much for coming along this afternoon for this interview. We developed this resource hoping that it will share and spread the message of water safety to as many girls and young women as possible. And really, I'd like to ask you this afternoon what your role within the RNLI as a woman means to you. So what is your role here at Bembridge Station?
Okay, I joined Bembridge Crew in 2018, so I've just come up to 5 years of being on the crew. I do both the boats. I do the all-weather lifeboat, the big boat you can see behind, and I do the ILB as well. On both those I'm a crew, and I'm also a casualty carer, so I do lots of the first aid if we have casualties. But on the inshore I'm also helm, so that means I'm in charge of the boat, in charge of the crew, and in steering, navigation, search patterns, all the things that you would expect a helm to take command of.
Excellent. So I'll come back to what those roles specifically mean, but let's just say first of all, what was it that interested you? What drew you to actually volunteer and, let's face it, put yourself through quite extensive period of training and a quite demanding volunteering role now?
I think the reason I wanted to get involved, I firstly wanted to volunteer. I didn't know what I wanted to volunteer for. And I bumped into John Keyworth, who you've just spoken to, and he said that the lifeboat were looking for specifically female crew because they didn't have these numbers that they ideally wanted. When I first came down to the lifeboat, I didn't know what to expect. But as soon as I got down here, I knew that I was going to love it. It's very, very hands-on. I've always loved sport, I've always loved teamwork, and a lot of the stuff that you get from sport, you get from being on the lifeboat as well. So the sort of camaraderie, you have to trust your other crew members, and it was a physical challenge for me as well.
So let's go back to the training then. In your personal life, your private life, I know you are very sports orientated and quite fit.
Yeah.
But what else did the RNLI help you to learn about? What did your training cover?
I think one of the most challenging parts of the training is when you go down to pool for your initial training. You have to do your sea survival training. and that's over a number of days. But you are challenged, you're physically challenged. You have to capsize a boat. You have to be able to go under the hull of the boat. You need to be able to identify things like flares, where the plotter is, where you might find a knife, for example, in an upturned boat, whilst talking to the trainer. So there's an issue there in terms of people's fear and how you manage that. You then have to be physically fit enough to get back on the top of the upturned hull and rewrite the boat. Another part of the training exercise was you had to pretend you were evacuating a ship. You had to jump from a 10-metre platform with all your kit on, inflate your life jacket, raft up with other team members, and then get yourself into a life raft. They then switch the lights off, we then have the wave machine come on, and you're left in the life raft for about 40 minutes to see how, again, you cope with those conditions. So stressful conditions, really challenging, but after you do that initial training, you come away with a great sense of achievement.
And your confidence built.
Definitely. You feel as if you definitely feel that if you then go on the boat, there's going to be stuff that is thrown at you that you'll be able to deal with.
So, what do you think has been the greatest benefit to you?
The greatest benefit, I think, is just I don't think you ever want to stop challenging yourself, whatever age you are. And I think for me, when I joined here, I was 45, I think, when I joined, and it's just having that new challenge.
And is there anything else you'd still like to?
Yeah, I think with the lifeboat, there's always stuff that you want to learn. So with my helming, I had to learn a lot about search and rescue. I would like to learn a little bit more about navigation. But I've never been tempted to take on the role of a mechanic or anything, or radar, anything like that, because I like to do the hands-on stuff. I love doing the deck work, I love doing the rope work, I love actually helping the casualties and working with those people that are in distress or need of our assistance.
I realise you may not be able to answer this one, but can you think of the most challenging task that you've had?
I think the worst weather we ever went out in was in Storm Franklin, and we went off St Catherine's, and I don't think I've ever seen waves like it. And literally every second or third wave, somebody was shouting grace, and we were literally watching the waves go right over the top of the boat. So that's certainly, in terms of weather conditions, the most challenging.
And the one where you also learnt a lot again.
Yeah. And that's where teamwork comes in. Somebody was looking out to check that all the crew were safe. We do have equipment with us, so we can clip onto railings to make sure we're safe. But it's in those situations that you do need to look after your crew members. And if they are looking unstable, grab hold of their jacket and make sure they're all safe.
Teamwork again.
Exactly.
In terms of we're presenting this to girls and young women, what would you say to them to encourage them to volunteer with the RNLI?
I think if you've ever done sort of brownie or guides or anything like that, there's always challenging roles within that sort of structure. I was a brownie myself. I was a pixie, and when I was a girl guide, I was a kingfisher. And I know that I did lots of badges, and I love the challenge of learning something new. And the lifeboat is just an adult version of being a guide, basically. It's challenging. You have to learn stuff that you don't know, and you have to constantly push yourself. And I think there are lots of parallels.
Thank you very much. Is there anything else that you would like to say?
I think the RNLI has made massive steps in the last few years to encourage more women and girls to get involved. And all I'd say is, if you do have a lifeboat station close to where you live, try and get involved. You may not, at the age you are at the moment, be able to actually go on the boat. But they're always looking for fundraisers. They're always looking for people to help out and to get involved.
Superb. Thank you very much.